And we're live.
Welcome to the 10th episode special of the Anomaly Talk Podcast. This is Mina Morcos, and sitting beside me is
Lawrence Gabriel.
And today we're celebrating our 10 episodes of the Anomaly Talk Podcast, man.
Yes.
That was pretty quick. Not
I know,
really.
it's quick, but looking back, we definitely changed a lot since
For
our
sure.
first episode.
For sure. And that's basically what this celebratory episode is going to be about. We're basically going to give you guys a little bit of context on us and, where we started this podcast and where it is now, and kind of give you a little bit more of a connection of your host and see why are we doing this? And so we did, we requested some questions on our Instagram. If you're not following our Instagram, you can find us at the Anomaly Talk Podcast. And so we put out some questions and we asked for some feedback, and people sent in some questions. And so we're going to answer them and kind of get to know each other. Maybe I might learn something new about you, Larry. I don't know. And
I hope not.
And yeah, I think I know quite enough. But let's go for it. Let's see our first question. Go for it. You want
so
to
the first question is, what made you want to start the podcast? And I guess just how did the podcast start?
Okay, I'm going to have you ask that.
Just asked.
Sorry, answer that. I actually, I think I called you. Or no. I think you brought up the idea.
You did call me. No,
but you brought up the idea, right? Or did I?
I had the idea brewing in my head, not with you though, just myself, of course.
Okay, yeah, of course, because he's a little bit selfish, but.
And then you called me and you said, did you ever want to start a podcast? This thing's falling.
We're going to take a quick pause. All right, we're back. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but what were you saying?
10 episodes in, we can't figure out our...
Seriously, dude. It's going to take us 20.
So how we started. So I had the idea brewing in my head of doing a podcast because, I don't know, I thought you talk a lot with people, so I figured you can work out a podcast pretty well, I guess. But then you called me and you're like, hey, did you ever want to start a podcast? Like, I want to start one. Let's just talk about what's going on in the world right now, because a lot of things are changing. And I said, yeah, I thought about it. And I was more comfortable doing it because, if I had to actually do all the work on myself, I probably wouldn't have done it ever. But I was comfortable doing it with you because I knew out of all my friends, you were one of the very few people that can actually take an idea into fruition. And my friends are pretty lazy, so.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Yes.
Thanks.
And also, I know you had your marketing company, VD Media, by the way, who, you already have the equipment, you had Abe, so, it would be a lot easier to start it up. So yeah, I figured the idea was already a lot of the work could be already done.
It was very feasible. It was very feasible. And this is probably a great time to shout out our boy Abe, who is our producer, director, technical guy, literally the guy, the brains behind all this. And
big brain
yeah.
guy.
So thanks a lot, Abe. We really appreciate you. Thanks.
There was a lot of fighting before this episode started.
Yeah, because he's a Nikon guy. He's a Nikon guy, and I'm a Canon guy.
You don't have to go to the reasoning.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Good. Just brotherly hatred. Then it was phases, right? So you came to my house, and we were gonna film right from there.
Recorded an audio
in my room. Yeah. And the initial idea was just me and you talking, right? And I hated that.
Yeah, me too. Because it's not about us.
Is that about us? And we don't know. We know enough on the surface level, but for someone to actually learn from an episode, it was not nearly enough, right? So I was like, no, we should probably have someone intelligent on the.
I totally agree
on the topic. So then the idea came to be is okay, we like learning from other people, so just I'll use this analogy, and I'm actually curious what your answer is. Okay, so in life. Right? There's there's many doors in life, okay? And if you walk through a door, then you've mastered the craft. But if you open the door, you've opened the opportunity of mastering that craft, okay? So do you want to live a life of walking in as many doors or just opening as many doors?
Walking.
Because you obviously,
to walk in... Do you want to be a master of many, or do you want to...
do you want to be a master of few things and not have that many other doors open? or do you want to open as many doors as possible? Because
Gotcha.
obviously it's not feasible to master that many
Gotcha.
things in
I
life.
think I'd
right?
open more doors.
Yeah, so then that's the essence of the podcast,
Yeah.
right? So like you're trying to open more doors through the conversations we have with the guests. There are different domains of expertise, and that was the idea. So we want to just learn because we didn't want to stick with one topic all the time, right? So we were trying to learn from a variety amount of people,
Yeah.
and then the type of people. Like, why did we go with like the type of people? Like, you can I guess talk about that.
Exactly. We like to dabble. I mean, this is weird because we're both not in this entertainment field, and we're making podcasts. So,
No, but like the guests, like why the type of guests? Like why
well,
did
yeah, yeah. So what makes us unique, I think, and what I really like about us and our saying is extraordinary conversations with ordinary people. And I think what's really, really cool about us and the reason why we set up our guests like that is we don't have a theme to the podcast. Our podcast is about, it revolves around our guests. And so we know the guests that we want, and then we learn everything we can from them because they're experts in their craft. And then the best example I could give is Ali, who we just had for
Crypto.
to talk about crypto. Mina Stefanos, who talked to us about mental health and getting fit and that complete transformation. The amount of learning that came out of that and just out of the sheer experience is something that you can't get out of just reading something or you need to speak to somebody who's completely invested in that field or invested in that topic. And that's how you can learn as much as you can. And that's what I hope our viewers are getting out of this, that we're bringing on the guests. If you're interested in the topic, great. You clicked on the video and you learned something. If not, you were at least entertained. And if you didn't watch the video, that's totally cool. Find a subject that, you do like. But in the end of the day, you and I are both going to learn a ton.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think I would suggest for those listening is that too. It doesn't matter if you like the topic or not. I would most of the time throughout this run, I probably myself wouldn't be that interested in the topics that we bring on.
Yep.
But it's the fact that they're so well versed in the topic that you are drawn to that, right? And you end up wanting to learn about what they're doing, what they have to say. Because when you hear someone that is that passionate about what they do, you want to hear from them, right? No matter if you care about the topic or not. I'll listen to a guy that just cuts grass like every day in his life, and if he has like an amazing amount of things to say about cutting grass, so be it. I'll listen to the guy if he's that like passionate about the topic. It's that's my point. Is it doesn't matter really about the topic. So that's the kind of people we're trying to bring on, and it's homegrown. It's people from the community. We're not getting like really famous folks coming on, and I think that's the beauty of it. It's kind of like the podcast version of Humans of New York, I would say.
Yeah, which I love that page. And honestly, I couldn't have said that better. If people are just spitting out passion, I'm as intrigued, although I might not be crazy about the subject.
Next question.
Yeah. So what do you and Mina do for a living? I could start off first. I'm an engineer. Nothing interesting. I'm a mechanical engineer. I work for a big international company. I design or work on electric motors. Nothing crazy. I also own a side business, a marketing and media production company. Yeah, nothing crazy. I'm also in flight school. One day hoping to become a pilot.
Well, do you work in Jersey or where do you? Where do
Yeah,
you
I
go?
work in Jersey, but I'm traveling all the time for work. But yeah, it's my office is in Jersey. You though, you're a little bit more interesting. I don't even know if you could talk about yours. Can you?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about
Okay.
it. I recently just switched companies. I joined Amazon. So I'm a software engineer. Well, okay, so it's funny because people don't like when programmers like calling themselves an engineer because you have an engineering degree, like an actual degree that
You
says
guys-
you are
yeah.
like certified in engineering.
Yeah.
And it's always like a controversy whether we're even allowed to even associate ourselves with engineering.
I didn't
So
know there
I'm
was
a
that
computer
beef.
programmer, okay,
Okay.
and I work. Yeah, so I just joined Amazon, so it's exciting. I'm on the ads team, so any ads you see on Amazon, like app or website, my team is primarily sponsored for.
That's huge.
Responsible for. So it should be fun. And yeah, I mean,
So we're pretty techie.
we're just out of school too for a couple.
Yeah,
years, so.
we're fresh into the job market. Pretty technologically craving individuals. Today, The MacBook Pro came out, and you and I were fiending over it.
It's a glorious machine,
It's gonna go broke.
and I wouldn't know how to work on anything of the sorts in Apple. So God bless what they do. So, what is your plan for next year for the podcast?
You go for that.
Oh, I mean, this year's not over, and then we have. My hope is we can do on sites. I think that's it's very consistency is the devil. So if we always had people come here, and at some point that format is going to get dull, and people are going to get sick of that concept. So I want to kind of switch it around a little bit, and if someone does something really interesting, like within like a factory or whatnot, that we could actually go on site for, whatever it may be. I think that would be different. I think it would be our like a change of scene. So when people are watching, they're like, "Oh, okay, this is new. Let me check this out." So I think on sites is something I really want. And obviously, like as you get, as we grow the podcast more, we would have more, I guess leverage to actually get better quality guests that are harder to get to book. Right? They would be more intrigued to come on. So as you get better, you can also get better guests.
Exactly. I'm totally with you on that on-site thing. I think that'd be extremely cool. Only not just only because of the idea of going on the road and going to different places and having different sets and changing it up and everything being unique all the time, but also imagine the guests that we can interview. I think that the experience that people endure is heavily based on their environment. And so if we stick local, there'll always be a common denominator where people are experiencing similar things because they're in this similar environment. But I'm thinking we see people from all over where they have different experiences, they have different atmospheres and environments, and that just adds to the unique pot of content and knowledge that we can extrapolate from them. So I really like that. Making the podcast self-sufficient, sustainable, growing our platform so we're able to get more feedback. Honestly, I want feedback. I want criticism. I want people to tell us, hey, I think you guys should do this or add to this or dabble in this. I want to hear that. And I think we would only get that feedback if we have larger quantities of viewership. So yeah, I think those are our goals for the year, and we're really excited. And I think we have everything set for success. I think we can definitely make it there, and this would be really cool for us to reflect and see this video that we're making right now in a year, and see where we are then, and we'd be like, damn, who are those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's the tricky thing is making sure that you don't settle for anyone just for the sake of having an episode. So Mina and I have already talked about it. So Mr. Beast has like if you don't know, Mr. Beast is like the most popular YouTuber now. He has an insane amount of subscribers, and his philosophy is that if he doesn't believe in the episode, he won't release it. Now, obviously, that would be a little tricky because we would be wasting someone's time if they actually came on. So we kind of need to be a little bit more proactive than that, and actually, really tell ourselves, do we really think this guest will provide for a good episode for our listeners? Because as we're growing, we just can't afford duds, basically. Like, we need to make sure that we're always giving the highest quality of content. And thankfully, I actually really believe in the whole lineup that we've had so far. I actually think we've had amazing guests up until this point. And so they're listening to this. Thank you for coming.
Everybody who's been on.
And we should probably give them like memorabilia for being on the first 10 episode. Guests.
That's actually a good idea.
So we should probably do something.
Did you just promise something on the podcast?
Hopefully they're not listening. So
this is actually a great segue because we were talking about guests. And one of the questions that we got was, what guests are you looking forward to having? What guests do you want to have? That's a tough one because there's an unlimited supply of subjects and fields.
Yeah, I think it's tough. Like, I think we, with the crypto one, we've learned that when it's like obviously a hot topic, that there's so much drawn to listening to it, right? It's interesting. I think like the crypto one is like a lot of people are trying to get rich now, so it was an interesting episode that kicked off. But there's other hot topics, right? We were talking about having someone that, whether or not, whether what side we're on ourselves, but having some gun advocate person on the show, like someone who may have a gun range or whatnot. That would be interesting. If someone wanted to talk about, I don't know, if we ever got someone that was on Shark Tank, that would be interesting, right? So it's like there's these, they're not famous people, but rather they're a part of these like hot topics that would be just like a really drawn like video for people to watch in and listen in, because it's a world that maybe they have no idea what it's like on that side, or they have opinions of that world, but really never had a conversation or saw a conversation about people with that side. So I think I want to go towards like those kind of routes.
For sure.
But there's too many. I guess there's too many hot topics to really explore. It's just a matter of getting the right person. So
One thing that I really want to highlight is that we want this to be the type of platform where everybody can feel comfortable speaking, where guests of all different spectrums, all different fields, all different ideologies can just tell us what they think. Doesn't mean that we agree. Doesn't mean that we disagree. Doesn't mean anything. Honestly, our opinions are pretty much irrelevant. This is just to, what are people out here thinking? What's going on in people's minds? What experiences have you gone through? We only learn, honestly, through people's experiences. I've learned more in the work field in a month than I have in my entire time in education or in the schooling system. So experiences are extremely, extremely valuable. And I did want to highlight that Larry and I are not preparing or planning on opposing any opinion or anything like that. We just want to, understand and learn honestly from us and become better people of society by just learning everybody's identities and thoughts. So
yeah,
I think
definitely
that's
not a
very
debate
cool.
format.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
actually don't like a lot of debate format podcasts, primarily because whether it's right or wrong, I question the intention of the format to begin with, as to whether to be in a proper debate, it would mean that both people are willing to actually learn from
And
the
change
other and
their
actually
minds.
change their
But that
minds.
never happens.
Yeah, and it never
So it's
happens for the
pointless.
most part. So
Yeah.
everyone's trying to protect their identity.
Exactly.
And so rather trying to, whether we would come into that with good intentions, it's very easy to get trapped with that same, problems that come with that format. So, we'd rather just listen to the story that the person has to say about their background and their position, and I think that that's educative enough. I think that's something that we should all listen to. I think regardless of, we don't want to be in like think bubbles basically. So like you don't want to be in the same group think. So it's nice to hear the stories from the people, especially if you didn't have an opportunity to do so.
Exactly.
So we'll give
For
you
sure.
that.
For sure. Do you want to answer more, or are you good?
I'm done on my side. What
good.
other questions do you
I
have?
think that's. We can end on a funny one or a cool one. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be? That's an
One
interesting
meal?
one. Yeah. I also think you're a foodie, right?
I like food.
Yeah, you like food, so like
I hope
that'd be very tough for you. I'm a foodie too. I think that's very tough, but I think I have an answer.
It has to be a sustainable food though.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
It would have to be, I don't know, like, I could probably survive off of chicken. I
chicken.
guess, yeah.
Like chicken every day.
Yeah,
What kind of chicken? Just like raw chicken?
I don't know, like
Well, how do you like your chicken prepared?
I like a Chick-fil-A sandwich. I could probably
Oh,
just eat that every day.
So Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, but it's fried though, so I'd probably die
So
sooner.
the grilled chicken.
I don't know,
make
but
that?
I don't feel like I want to eat it, the grilled chicken every. This is a very tough question. I don't think I can answer.
I don't
this.
think anybody can answer. I'd say pasta.
That's not a sustainable food. You die.
Why? It's carb.
You just run out of
'cause
energy
no
quick.
fat and stuff. All right. How about with cheese?
I'm telling you, it's a very difficult
It
question.
is a very difficult question.
Forget it. We're not
Whatever.
answering the question.
Yeah, whatever. We're not answering that question. We answered all the others. But basically, we just wanted to get on here to thank you guys for 10 episodes going strong. And we've seen, Larry's been glued to the analytics. We've seen growth, and we're really, really excited because we are seeing momentum and growth. So we wanted to say thank you for that. And we're going to keep bringing it on. Right, Larry?
Yeah, bringing it on. Yes, yeah, we're gonna bring it on. We're got about to hit 100 subscribers, so when we do, we'll try to do a giveaway.
For sure.
So definitely subscribe if you aren't, and we'll See you to the next one. Right?
Yeah, and then you got to say the legendary
Peace.
peace.